What is going on, guys? Got a great interview in store for you. Going to be interviewing Stevie Richards, former WWE, WCW, ECW wrestler. Really excited to talk to you guys about that. Starting these outdoor workouts, I might be featuring that a little bit, kind of literally field testing my Mac board outside with my X3 bar, some resistance bands, or TRX, keeping up with the theme of the podcast, which is primitive home fitness. Still not sure where I'm going to be keeping that, but I will link that podcast down below if you guys do want to find that, and can subscribe to that if you guys do want to. So brief introduction to this interview, really excited. Stevie Richards is an awesome individual. I talked to him well over 2 hours in this initial interview recording, but then actually more than that off camera. This is a long podcast. I kind of had to chop it up in some pieces, so I kind of took some parts out, unfortunately, just for the sake of time. But I will put some timestamps down below if you guys do want to check it out. If you guys don't know who Stevie Richards is, aka Michael Manna, again, he was a former WWE wrestler, has a great home fitness channel. But of course, we got into his history of professional wrestling, his segue into kind of YouTube fitness, and then we also really get into a really serious health setback that really pushed him back, which is really kind of crazy if you guys want to hear his whole story. And then towards the end, we get into some practical tips about home fitness training. He's got some really great products, great ideas, gave me a lot of ideas that I'm sure you guys will see in future videos. Not gonna waste any time though, gonna jump right into it. If you'd all like this video or this podcast, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, and check out that podcast link down below. All right, we're here with Stevie Richards. I've been knowing him since I was probably in grammar school when I first heard Stevie Richards. I think I heard you when you first came to WCW though. So I was an old wrestling fan, so I kind of knew Stevie Richards. And then I kind of saw blips and pieces about how he had a fitness channel. And so we're going to get into that because he's got an awesome fitness channel that definitely is tailored toward at-home fitness. But you got some really other cool products too. As I was kind of going through here, I don't get a lot of time I do have time. I don't really peruse like fitness stuff as much, but I'm looking through stuff. Like I got to go through a lot of your stuff. There's like e-bikes on there that look really cool and interesting. So you got a lot of cool products that outside of just their fitness, but not just equipment. So we'll go over Stevie's history as a professional wrestler, his YouTube stuff he's getting into. He had a huge health setback that's gigantic for people that make a living on their bodies like Stevie has been his whole life. So have you kind of get into that a little bit, and just hopefully we'll also give some practical advice throughout this interview. So thanks so much, Stevie Richards. And then, do you like going by Stevie? It's a stupid question to ask, but I know that's not your real name, but do you prefer to go by that?
It was just branding, because if you search for Michael Manna Fitness, it'll never come up. And so I'm taking advantage of the decades of SEO, for good or bad, that my wrestling career has afforded me. Okay.
And I also mention Stevie was really extremely gracious of that. I talked to him before we recorded. We talked for a while, and he's just really personal, such a nice guy, down to earth guy, salt of the earth guy. So I can't say enough about that, talking to him off the air here. So I want to just say that up front. The fact he's taking the time talking to me is a big deal. And, the starstruck has kind of been there a little bit, but I've obviously never been talking to him. So that'll wear
off. That'll wear off when you talk to me 2 or 3 times.
So without me talking too much, Stevie, just want to introduce yourself. People who don't know, because people might not know your wrestling background, your history, and just anything about yourself.
Well, they already know my real name already 5 seconds into the show, but I was a professional wrestler. I started in 1991. No second, third generation, anything. I really just went into the business because of love and a passion. And as I do mostly everything in my life, someone told me I couldn't do it. So that was all the motivation I needed. And that's where you'll see comes from. So just wrestled for a very long time. Wasn't necessarily a fitness fanatic. I liked going to the gym and working out, but didn't have the knowledge, and also didn't really mature enough until I had gotten hurt. And that's going to be a recurring theme with my injury list and my fitness journey, how it's changed. But, I just went into the business because I had a love for passion, and I'm from Philadelphia. So there was some way I needed to get out of the neighborhood to try to broaden my horizons. And actually, I didn't have any clue what I was doing. I just said, okay, I just got to try to get out of the neighborhood. Let's figure this out. And just showed up every day, tried my best. And that's literally the foundation for each and everything that I do in the wrestling business. And now afterwards in the fitness, content creation, trying to run affiliate business, doing all that stuff, just taking it one day at a time, doing my best, and knowing that it's like everything working out. You want to talk about practical advice? Every day, if you get up to work out, they're not always going to be great workouts, not always going to be great sets or reps, or you're not going to be with it. But if you just get up and show up every day, those good days will come, the progression, the progress, all that stuff will come. And that keeps me getting up each and every day.
Well, you would have been how old when you first got into wrestling? And at that time in the 90s, because I was going into, I was in adolescence there. So that as far as I'm concerned, I grew up in the peak of that, the height of the wrestling heyday. That was mid to late 90s. That was the best time ever.
Attitude.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think a lot of people know this. I mentioned it to you. I actually did go into Killer Kowalski's wrestling school in my early mid-20s in Massachusetts when I was out there, and I was in Sasha Banks's class. So there was a period of time where I was going to probably consider that, but that's what I want to get into is that anyone who's ever tried wrestling, the idea of once I took a bunch of those falls, and even after learning them, like this stuff is no joke. It does hurt. Like even after doing it repeatedly, for sure. I didn't know that much, and I was used to just grammar schools give fake flipping over tables and stuff. But the idea of actually doing that, how has that impacted your body, especially when you started at that young age? So I guess what age did you start at, and then how did that growth and longevity kind of affect your overall fitness and health?
Well, I started when I was too young to know any better about what the wrestling business was. That's what I'll say first. But I was 19. So I just turned 19 and went to wrestling school. I think actually before I turned 19, I started training. But it's one of those things. Actually, ignorance in that case was bliss. In a lot of ways, when you're young, you're willing to take chances and do things. And as my wrestling career on the indies, or even before the indies started to be a consistent thing, sleeping in my car, begging to work for free, driving around. But if I'm 51 now, that's 51. I'm like, oh man, I don't want to sleep in my car and not have a hotel and not have the creature comforts of life. But at 19, you're willing because you don't know any better. You don't know what comfort is because you're out on your own for the first time trying this thing out. And that was sort of my attitude. Speaking of which, with how hard it is and painful it can be, a little hint for you and your audience, that TV back there is a vibe board. It's a digital whiteboard that I can draw on, annotate. One of the projects I'm working on, it's in the infancy, but I want to create a channel and I want to create content where I break down and analyze wrestling matches, moves, spots, stuff like that from a point of view that it's really not, there's a lot of nuance and it's really not that easy. And it can be dangerous. So I'm trying to point these kinds of things out. And that's and it's going to be used for fitness stuff too, to kind of put things up like lists and features and specs, just another bit of smoke and mirrors to, till I can be a proper presenter on YouTube. I'll just use all these little tricks that I have up my sleeve.
No, that's awesome.
I'm deprecating. I do that a lot. So people probably notice that.
Well, and I want to we'll definitely at the end want to highlight this, but just even up front, I mean, you got a lot of stuff. You cover a lot of things, and even on your website, you got fitness programs. So you're all over the place as far as a jack of all trades, and I think you're gifted in a lot of just your knowledge of not just fitness, but obviously in that professional arena of kind of just work, what it's been like your whole life, just putting in that kind of grind and definitely if I'm thinking of a grinding industry, it would be a professional wrestling. So to think of like, I could probably stay in this for a full hour of what that would have been like in your life and how stable that was, and physically and mentally what that kind of did to you as far as you growing up. And anything you just want to touch on that? Because from the outsider, that seemed like almost seemed like a rock and roll type of lifestyle. Was it stable as far as paycheck to paycheck and also dealing with mental and physical stress?
No, it's never been. I've never been comfortable a second ever in the wrestling business, especially financially, because you don't know. There was days back. I'm from an era where if you didn't work, you didn't get paid. So that's why a lot of guys worked hard, and that's why we saw a lot of guys passing away way too early because they had to push themselves, medicate themselves, do a lot of things. I was very fortunate because mentally, all I wanted to do was save every dime I could. So for whatever reason, I mean, there was other reasons I never drank or did drugs or any of the other pitfalls that kind of caught up with a lot of people in the business. But the main part of it was I didn't want to spend any money. I wanted to save as much as I could. And there were a lot of nights where if it was less than 3 or 4 hours at a hotel, I'd sleep in my rental car before a flight home. I would make sacrifices. Physically, it's demanding, but you'd be surprised that flying being on a plane, being in a rental car, being in a hotel, being away from your routine is more taxing than anything that I ever done in the ring. Mentally, emotionally, physically. Let's even talk about, because I know we'll may have a whole dedicated time talking about spiritually and how it can really try to pull you towards the more nefarious, to quote the new movie that's been out for a little bit, nefarious and evil. You can go down into a downward spiral and become somebody that's completely unrecognizable. And I thank God every day I didn't do that. And of course I wasn't married and I didn't have children. It never really complicated the road more than it was in my life. If I was married and had kids, I don't even think I would have stayed in the business, because I would have saw the great responsibility to raising human beings, and I have to be there for that. And I couldn't be an absentee, person during that time.
Well, that says a lot about you. I mean, you grew up in some, well, people might not even know that. I mean, even that ECW era, from a person watching it, even as a young kid, I'm like, these guys are maniacs. I mean, you just felt like from watching them, like when that camera stopped, I just figured you guys were just tearing up the town and stuff like that. That's what the visual just seems so out of control that the persona off the screen, I just feel like these guys are just, crazy rock stars or something off the camera. And maybe it was like that. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, most were. You're not off base. Me, this is what I was always like. And even more, they used to call me the clueless putz in ECW, because I was clueless to the way the business worked. I was clueless to the way a lot of other things worked. That worked to my advantage most times, because if I wasn't smart, like I said, ignorance is bliss. If I wasn't smart enough to be aware and then smart enough to be afraid to go out there, like I did a lot of things fearlessly, like that outfit right there. Yeah. You do things fearlessly because you just don't have any idea, nor do you even care what the consensus is about what's going on, And in ECW, it was interesting because Raven, this made my career right here. Everybody was a tough guy. Everybody was a hard ass. Everybody was just, those guys were legit fighters or legit backgrounds. Taz, Perry Saturn, Cronus, and Shane. Everybody had a legitimate background of some sort or another. I was just a kid that wanted to be a pro wrestler and make pretend I was somebody else. But Raven pointed out, if you wear that stuff and you're not a tough guy and you're running from everybody and you're afraid of everything, and they start, what we say in wrestling, start putting you over, so you start winning matches and titles and stuff like that, the fans will hate you and they will buy a ticket to see you finally lose, but it won't happen. It'll just keep buying tickets. And that really set me up to be the kind of bad guy, AKA heel, that I was for there, Right to Censor, and in other places in my career.
Does that affect you? I used to read tons of wrestling biographies because they were so fascinating to me, but like, does that affect you mentally? Even though it's a whole thing's a show, just being being a heel and always like playing that part, and people just, I mean, you're getting paid to have people kind of just pick on you, having fans just get mad at you, and just, I mean, you get its whole thing's a show. Or even when the cameras stop, do people still kind of think less of you, like even the wrestlers, even just because your character is kind of meant to play that way? So did they?
Well, back then they would follow me home, and they hated me. They were break. I lived 15 minutes from the arena. So they hated me like I was from another planet.
Yeah. So would that affect you? I would think it would affect most people. I mean,
no, because I was doing what I was getting everything I wanted, which was the attention. I was getting TV time, and I was getting a lot of different things. Here's the thing, though, what happens in wrestling, a lot of the heels, bad guys, usually are pretty nice guys or nice people, if you include the women. The baby faces or the good guys usually turn out to be really not nice. And I think the reason why that perception exists is because you expect the worst out of a heel, but then when they're kind of nice and cordial to you, it's a pleasant surprise. You expect the baby face to be a white hat cowboy that is like kissing babies every second of the day. But if they're having a bad day, now you're like, oh, I had such high expectations. They weren't being mean, but they weren't necessarily being the nice guy you remember on TV. It's kind of but that speaks to how wrestling can really convince people. Wrestling and soap operas are the two things that convince people more than anything that the characters are what they are in real life. It's very fascinating.
Segueing into the kind of the YouTube channel, what made you kind of transition into that world, and then kind of how did that kind of just evolve?
Well, it originally started as a tech channel, which I thought was at the time going to be my end all be all. It was going to be the next Steve Jobs because, I mean, I got a ponytail. I don't look like any of these are, nerds on YouTube, even though I was a fellow nerd, even more nerdy than all of them put together and more shy and introverted. But I wanted something. I knew my time in WWE and in pro wrestling is always limited, but I knew they weren't doing anything with me in WWE, and I needed it. I always need to have a creative outlet no matter what. If I stopped doing the fitness channel, I would need another creative outlet. And it was something I could totally control. I was going out there, they were telling me, hey, put this guy over in 3 minutes or 4 minutes. You're handcuffed to not be the performer that you've trained so hard to be. And I was like, well, I need something to make me feel like, yes, you can still be creative and do something and produce something of value. So that's when that started. I did the tech channel for a while. It was, moderately successful from content or the podcast or views or downloads or whatever. But from a monetary or an income stream, it didn't make any money. But what I didn't know, Mike, was that, I'll say it a lot, refer to God or God put me on a path. God was making me build that foundation with the technology that when I did transition to the health, wellness, fitness business, I could create my own website. I could edit my own videos. I could upload my own videos. I could do a podcast or even turn that into a radio show and fully produce it. Also, I could just do anything I wanted to do. So when I had a concept or an idea, I don't have to go to my video editor or my website editor. So being a one-man show lowered my overhead, and all those years doing the tech channel built up the hard skills I needed to do the fitness business. And I also built up a relationship with tech companies that could support me with microphones, mixers, lighting. So I kind of had a good foundation to start to do business without, having to do too much outsourcing or anything like that.
You brought up a good point. I literally had this conversation with someone who's older than me and from a church group thing last week. And I just meet them because I wanted to hear a story about stuff. And I told them that I'm getting all this stuff. My brain's going 80 different directions. And this is just stuff I help out with, like little groups I do with by church, whatever. And I was like, I feel like I'm doing too many little things. He said, what you're doing really is you're getting experience in all these little things to set you up for something else. So even if you feel like you're spinning your wheels, not doing something productive here, it's some way, like you're saying, it's all experience that'll pay off towards something, or just building up your own personal.
But it's time. It really stinks and it hurts you and you're worn out. Like right now, I'm going through that too, because this new category of content, well, I'm still trying to figure out and catch up from, what I had going on, being hospitalized, catching up the content that I let kind of go, because you can't do fitness equipment videos if you can't walk. So it was kind of tough on that, but I'm going through that right now. I'm getting frustrated with this board, trying to figure out the workflow, producing at different camera angles. Do I use Ecamm Live? Do I use the O-Box Pro? It will drive you insane and give you a migraine. But just like you're probably experiencing, okay, when I start coming out of that and I start feeling like it's all coming together, okay, now I can get it. But it's torturous when you're first doing it. It'll make your head literally spin round and round.
Was it hard, or is it still hard with the wrestling background and doing this other stuff that people want to? I want to click on Stevie Richards, talk about wrestling. I don't want to hear you talk about fitness or tech stuff. Do you still feel like that, or do you get that?
Yeah, I do. And there's a part of me that for a while, I resisted using Stevie Richards when I had the tech channel. I used Michael Manna because I wanted to succeed or fail on its own. And it did a bit succeed on its own, because there were companies that were ready to work with me who never knew I wrestled. That was a great compliment. Even fitness companies, they don't realize that I've ever wrestled. When they discover it, it's a bonus. And it's part of my story. I really should include it more, because all those years of wrestling, the injuries and all that stuff, and trying to be in shape at 51, it does tie in. But I didn't want to use it as crutch. But right now, yeah, my views on YouTube, I'm sure you experience it too. We go through these weird ebbs and flows of, wow, I'm finally made it. I'm going to get thousands of views. Then the next video gets like 200, and you're like, what am I doing wrong?
Well,
So
is it tempting for you to want to like just go back to just saying, well, I'll make some, like, I hate, for lack of a better word, kind of sell out? Because I mean, I've seen some wrestlers, I don't know what, a while ago, maybe like a lot of wrestlers were doing like just video gaming is always big. I know you like video games, and I like video games too. And when I get a chance, my kids don't let me play any. But if you know, it's I think I saw some wrestlers, I heard they were, they just started like streaming video game channels, and that was getting more than anything was just watching old wrestlers, not old wrestlers, but just like these are current wrestlers just play video games. So is it tempting like, well, I'll just do something like that and not even that's less, I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
I'm tempted to do that, but here's the advice. I think I gave this to you, and you got a great niche. I gotta say it right now. You have, because I've been searching in the total gym, and that type of training has fascinated me for a long time. So you found your niche, and you go off a little bit here and there with the X3 and other things, and you know, you try like that vertical leg press, but you have a great niche that you can be the total gym guy, the sliding bench trainer. Like, you know, I've been tempted to go with the low hanging fruit of, hey, why don't I just start a wrestling podcast, have somebody host it, ask me questions about my career, and call it a day. I've never done things that easily. So my whole thing, and the reason why I feel like I had moderate success in wrestling, or at least cornered certain markets, was let me look at what people aren't doing. In other words, like I told you, I want to use that board, and I want to do a Madden Telestrator type show to break down film and show the nuances and do all that stuff. Nobody's doing that. Number one, it's pretty difficult to produce. I'm finding that out right now. And number two, it's much easier to just sit here, have a conversation, and just recall a career and go through chronologically. I've never been a person that ever wanted to do the easy thing. So that's kind of like maybe a short answer. Why?
Well, plus you want to do something that's passionate. Like I mean, the same thing. I tell people all the time that total gym, like you said, it's a niche. I tell people all the time, try kind of in defense, keeps like, well, you just found the niche and you're just doing it. I'm like, if I didn't like it, there's no way I would be doing it. Because so there's something, yeah, like you're saying, I think the passion has to be there too, obviously.
Well, no, what I'm saying when I said niche, I just
I know
you found your category within content creator space. If you were phony, I'd be able to see it within one or two videos. You're very authentic with what you use in it. And that's what made me think like, especially with the road to recovery, like, you know what, that is a definitely like suspension training kind of is good, but I hate the burns I get on my arm. You know, it's kind of stupid, but it kind of, it depends on the angle, and there doesn't feel like there's a lot of support on my back. Free weights, obviously, at this point are a little dangerous for me. I'm using a lot of resistance bands and isometrics, but right there is just like, hey, I just got to change the angle, put my weight on it, put a couple plates on it. So scalable. So I really am a big fan of the content.
Well, even with your stuff too, I mean, I think you do. It's hard to balance that area of like not pigeonholing yourself either. So I think what's great is that like you have, like what I try and tell people is, yeah, obviously the sliding bench is my core, but like right now I'm back into bands again. I like stuff ultimately like that's low footprint, doesn't have a lot of stuff, but like you, I think it's like you want to have a focus, but you also don't necessarily pigeonhole myself, and that kind of happens to me sometimes a little bit, but. I don't know if you've ever found that even with the tech channel or fitness channel, like, well, I got this thing or this fitness brand that I'm pushing or something like that. And you don't want to feel like you're kind of locked in.
Yeah. The thing too, and like I've been praying and thinking and talking out loud and asking, and I think we had a little piece of the conversation last time we talked. I feel like everything, when we go into detail, people know what I'm talking about, but in the road to recovery, from the hospitalization, from not being able to walk, from every privilege of working out and be able to function that was taken away from me temporarily. And now that I'm kind of back, I have such a motivation and just a fierce motivation to serve others and help people. So like Mike, I was like, all right, the fitness channel, I want to kind of do that to help other wrestlers and other people or just the fans understand. I want to bring the tech channel back and show the behind the scenes of how I create even the PDFs and the websites so everybody can be empowered to do this stuff. Now, I understand from an SEO perspective, I'm committing suicide because Stevie Richards and it'll confuse people. So I'm trying to figure out how I can have all these things live together, even if it's an occasional behind the scenes to show you. And hey, if you guys have any questions, email me and I can help people one-on-one. But I have this need and this desire to serve and help people. And I don't know, I don't feel like I'm doing it enough right now. And it's the answer all we're looking for, and that's purpose. And
Right.
it'll make you exhausted more than anything to kind of sit here and go, what is my purpose in life?
Right.
And maybe
Yeah,
that's another message for people out there that are younger than us or young. I'm 51. I've had a 31 year wrestling career full time. I have a fitness brand, a fitness channel. I have what I feel like is a very blessed affiliate business connected to the content. And I'm still like, what's next? What can I do now? What do I need to pivot? Is the home gym space dead after COVID? That's a big question, right?
Mm-hmm.
You and I probably did well during, but as people are going back, do we pivot or is this our space to kind of take over?
You bring
Anybody
up
has the answers, please let us know.
Yeah, you bring up so many good points, even at the end there. I mean, and I thought that recently. Just I never really did think about it, but I do say, yeah, obviously people are going to go back, but it was a lesson to me because I would never, like going back to passion. I would never go. I never thought I'd ever leave the gym, and now it's like I don't think I'll ever want to go back to the gym because I just like doing what I'm doing, which is making me think about other things. So, but yeah, I mean, I think about those exact same things. I do want to get into the injury and well, the condition. I don't know if you want to call it really an injury, more so as an infection, but just the big gigantic setback. Because when I heard that story, I still have to get through some of the videos. So I watched a bunch of them already. I'm going to link some down below so people can kind of watch that. But if you can break, and there's plenty of content so people can kind of wrap up and kind of get the whole history and backstory. But just kind of go through what happened, if you don't mind sharing that kind of briefly, and how that has kind of impacted you and set the stage where you're at right now.
Sure. Actually, there's the video, what happened, and it is 40 minutes long. That's the long one. The other ones are a minute to a minute and a half. But I really wanted to tell the whole story, and it's timestamped so people can jump around if they want. Basically, I've always had lower back issues, obviously from wrestling, and I knew that like my back will go out a couple times a year, like mostly anybody, whether they wrestled or not. But one morning I woke up, I was like, man, I'm a little stiff, got on the inversion table, went and had an incredible workout, actually. I was like, man, this is one of the best workouts I have. I feel good. Maybe I just need to loosen up a little bit. Or I was like, oh, I'll use the inversion table when I wake up every morning now, if that's what's missing. So I got back home about 9 a.m. And then like 2 hours later, I was sitting right in this chair and I was recording one of the review shows I do with Ben Hameen and Vince Russo. Right after that, I did some video editing and then I couldn't get out of the chair. I literally couldn't push myself out. I was locked in. I was like, oh, this is weird. My wife came home, had to peel me out of the chair. I was in so much pain that I couldn't stand up straight. I laid in bed, heating pad, pain was just wrenching, like a huge muscle spasm.
Was it paralysis before pain? Where you're like, oh, I just can't move? Or
there's no paralysis, just
or
pain, like, pain to the point where my legs were useless.
So pain came first, though.
The pain came first.
Oh, okay.
But there was never paralysis. I felt pain in my body. There was no numbness.
Oh, okay.
I kind of prayed for numbness after a while, but a writhing pain, screaming, pouring sweat right away was just a nightmare. My wife ran out, got me a walker, like 3 hours from a workout to a walker. We didn't know what was wrong. I thought maybe my back finally hit the wall. I needed surgery because it was right there in the lower part of my back where most wrestlers have trouble. We went to a chiropractor. He tried traction. It made it worse. He tried heat, E-stim, made it worse. For the next 2 to 3 weeks, I was bedridden. I couldn't move. I couldn't sleep, maybe 10 minutes of sleep total over
But that's
2 weeks.
that's a long time. Were you in a lot of pain at that point, or would it kind of go in and out a little bit, or was it like just constant for 2 weeks?
Constant, 24/7,
Holy cow.
and got worse with each day. More pain than I ever experienced. More pain than I ever experienced from wrestling, from any injury combined.
If you don't mind me asking, because it might be a personal question or answer to it, but like, I guess in my mind, I'm hearing this. Why didn't you do something right away? If it was like 4 days for me, I'm like, all right, I got to do something because I'd be getting
So all
freaked
that
out.
time we were going to pain management clinics. We were going to
Okay.
spinal surgeons. We had 2 trips to the emergency room, which
Okay.
was a whole nother experience where I almost died in the hospital one night. It was crazy.
Okay.
And they can't really speak on that legally, but you can guess if I'm not saying it's the infection, what else could it be that
Yeah.
could have killed me
Yeah.
overnight? So anyway, finally we ended up at the Mayo Clinic. Long story short, we were going to places all around here. Went to the Mayo Clinic, begged for them to see us, got an appointment. Then initially there wasn't an appointment for 3 more weeks for the person to see me that would probably do, surgery, or in this case, a spine biopsy. We begged, we pleaded, we prayed. Finally, they saw us. The minute the guy laid eyes on me, because now I'm in a wheelchair and I can't sit still, and I'm like this. I literally look like I have cerebral palsy or MS or something. I look like I'm just.
Is it all centralized in your like back, or is it like kind of
all on the back, but it's radiating everywhere?
okay.
And lack of sleep, eating maybe why I can't even eat or swallow. I can't use the bathroom. I can't do anything, dude. I'm just I'm completely a mess. So Mayo Clinic, once he laid eyes on me, they admitted me right away and started doing tests. And then they did a spine biopsy and they found the infection. They found the infection in L4, L5. They were both about halfway eaten away. So they put me right away on broad spectrum antibiotics, and they were just trying to figure out what next.
How does that happen? I know I heard it was an infection. This is my ignorance. How does something like that even possibly happen? Do you have any ideas?
From an open wound. I got bit by a couple dogs about 8 months before that. That's their best guess.
Really?
But more so than that, I went to a place, same place I almost died at overnight. And they sealed up the dog bite that was on my face. And I was told that was the wrong thing to do so soon after. They have to leave it open to some extent for a while. They got to let a dog bite or an animal bite breathe. So there's a suspicion that when they sealed it up tight, that they sealed the infection in. And then it traveled throughout my body. Plus, about 3 or 4 days after that happened, I got COVID. So my immune system got way suppressed. So they're thinking a combination between all that. And then the only reason it took about 7, 8 months to hit the way it did was actually because of the shape I was in, because the doctor was like, this level and where this is at and how much it stayed in your spine and didn't go to your brain. He goes, that's a testament to how hard you've trained and how strong your body fought this infection. He goes, because this should have killed you.
Holy cow. Jeez.
You want to talk about something that has you like doing that right away.
Yeah. So I'm sure at this point, even probably right now, I mean, you're probably now kind of gotten over it, at least a little bit. I don't know. I'm not ignorant to say that, but if it was me and like, you know, I'm doing all this, my body's always been a physical means of how I make a living. And so if that happened to me, I'm like, oh, what the heck am I going to do? I mean, what kind of thoughts are going through your brain at that point? Just with that regard. Was that a big one?
It's hard. I'm getting a little emotional thinking about it because I'm not over it. I don't think that I'm ever going to be over this. And that's a great thing, because far too many times in this life or the world we live in, you'll go through a traumatic experience that will, quote, change you. And you swear you're never going to do anything wrong again or bad. And you're going to try to be a better person. And you're going to try to walk a path of faith better and try not to fall short as much. And we all kind of veer right back in and get pulled away back into the world. That hasn't happened here. This has been something that, like, dude, I cry every day. I cry every day. Maybe it's because I watched The Chosen, and then when he heals somebody, I'm like, oh God. But
That's a great show.
it sticks with me because my one prayer, and people can believe. I preface it with it. You can believe or not believe whatever you want to believe. I don't push it on anybody. I just know for a fact that when this hit, I didn't think about the working out. I didn't think about the fitness business. I didn't think about creating content, editing video. The first thing on my mind as I'm writhing, I mean, my body it's almost like it felt like being possessed. Yeah, my back's in so much pain, but I'm bridging up. How should I say? Unintentionally I'm not doing it myself. It's against my own will. And I'm praying to God that please don't let anybody I love or care about, or even anybody I dislike or don't care for at all, don't let anybody feel this pain that I'm feeling right now. And if this is my cross to bear, to spare my wife, to spare people I love and care about, then that's fine. Just please,
Which I don't think most people would think the way you're thinking, which says a lot about you or the graces you got that even have those thoughts. Most people I don't think would be thinking that selflessly. That's my thought.
Well, you want to know my honest thought?
Well, yeah.
At the time, I thought I was going to die.
Really? Yeah.
I thought I was going to die. I didn't think they were going to find it. I didn't think there was going to be a path where there would be a solution to this, because where we were at locally, they didn't have a clue. The 5, 6, 7 places we went. When we finally did get in the Mayo Clinic, I felt the hope, but I also, when they kept repeating, you should have died, or this would have killed somebody, or we don't know how long it's going to take you to walk again, because normally people can't walk for months. Normally people can't recover from this. Normally people will never be the same. Now, from a physical standpoint, I think I will eventually get back to the same. Mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, I will never be the same again, and that's for the better.
Because of the thought of you thinking you almost died. That's what you're saying? Is that what you're saying? What is that one? What would you summarize as the thing you're saying you have a hard time still getting over?
Because I was so blessed before this happened.
And I see.
I say I'm blessed.
Yeah.
Hey, well, I'm so blessed and I'm
right.
Fortunate, or I'm lucky, when it's all taken away in a 3 hours. When it's all taken away at the snap of a finger, and you look around and you have a wife that puts everything else aside, including her fitness journey, to take care of you 24/7. What a smile on her face.
Yeah. Wow.
Dude, there's no like, I mean, there's no measure of love that's greater than that. That's the example that we all should live by. What my wife was during that time. I mean, how many people will be like, yeah, I'll take care of you, but I got to go work out. I got to go to work.
Right.
She put all that aside, risked her career, risked her fitness journey, like regressed like big time on her fitness journey to take care of me. And I still thought I was going to die. So, but she told me, you're not. And that's why I used to say to her, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this.
Yeah.
Because Mike, having an injury is one thing. Breaking my neck, having a fusion, even back surgery, the blueprint.
Right.
As long as unenjoyable as that blueprint is, there's a blueprint. With an infection on a spine, with the unpredictability of how it got there, how long it took, is it gone now, right? Is it even gone? It's gone as far as I know from last Friday, but is it really gone? Is it ever going to come back? Keeps you really honest.
And so after you kind of got after the infection kind of, I guess, I don't know if it's totally even cleared out. I guess you can kind of address that. But once you kind of peaked in the infection and you got out of the hospital and you could go home, I guess now kind of walk us through that whole recovery process, kind of where you're at right now and kind of what your fitness journey is, kind of where it is right now at this point in time. I hate to even say that, but just kind of where your physical health is at right now and what that stages were like.
Well, it's, it's all new to me. It's like resetting your fitness journey completely from scratch. So I'm starting over, just like most of the people that watch the videos on my YouTube channel or reach out to me and email me. So we were talking about before, like,
I hate to interrupt you, but I mean, I got to say, because that's the biggest shocker to me is like, you look pretty good. I'm like, man, It sounds so bad to say, but I'm like, if something happened to me and I could bounce how you did, I mean, I know you were gone. The recovery was a long process. I think maybe you can even summarize what that was, but you look really good. I mean, and just the way you're kind of already doing stuff. I saw you had a video already just the time of recording the isometrics one, which I want to watch that because I have another question about isometrics. But point is, yeah, I think you look really good for where you're at.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's like I said, I mean, people throw the word blessed around, but I really am because I know the comparison. I know the other people that have suffered from this type of infection, not even on their spine. And it took months and months and months for them to regain function. And then if it is in the spine, regain the ability to walk, learn how to walk again. And I can't explain, Mike, and I don't want anybody to ever find out for themselves what the feeling of it being so painful that you're not paralyzed, but your legs and your lower body are essentially just useless. So, and you know, you've probably been hurt or sick or both. When your muscles atrophy, it is a terrible feeling because when you come back from that, it's even more painful. You're more sore. And then kind of overarching what I had to deal with when I was coming back from this and continue to come back from it, I had to kind of sit down. Well, not sit down. I was laying down, but I had to literally think about how my reset of my fitness journey was going to go. And also in the back of my mind, how I'm going to be able to serve others with this and how I'm going to be able to help people and how I'm going to be able, maybe even at the most nuts and bolts level, is this the way I'm going to pivot from a business and a brand? Is this my story now? Because that's the hardest thing as a content creator. You can be the fanciest video editor. You can have all the great lighting, the microphones, the cameras, make it look like a movie. But if you don't have a story that relates to people that's real and authentic, we talked about it with the sliding bench trainers and the total gym. If I knew for a fact that you weren't using it and you were just trying to sell total gyms, I'd be able to see it by the first or second video. So the story that I was blessed with that people would think is a curse is the fact that I get to start all over again. I get to increase my empathy for people that have limitations, that are bedridden, that do have atrophy muscles, that have been, I know what it feels like to be walking with a cane, to be walking with a walker, to be confined to a wheelchair, not permanently, but enough to where I'll never forget it. So that part of the recovery and my viewpoint on that is a lot more empathetic than it would have been beforehand, because before it was like, hey, rub some dirt on it, or you can do it and just modify and do that. But then I know there's people, modification's an impossibility at this point in their recovery or their illness. But getting back to the the reset of the fitness journey too, I had to really look at it, and as I'm looking at it, Mike, I'm going, oh wow, I can actually now understand, because I had it in my heart and in my mind to create like one SRF program where you start from the beginning as a beginner and then you progress. But if you're also not a beginner, you can get you have to get those foundations no matter what. So I plan on creating that. Now this recovery and the training along with it is kind of a vehicle. So like my first thing, we'll get to what you're talking about with the video. My first thing was, how do I overcome? Obviously, I have very limited back mobility. I'm very weak. I'm down 35 pounds all the way to almost 180. I wanted to lean out, but not like that. So I'm looking at what the deficiencies currently I have. Then the arthritis from every single injury I suffered in my life. Because when I'm atrophied and I'm not moving and I'm not training, my joints are starting to flare up. So now not just my back, but my elbows, my neck, my knees, my ankle, my feet, everything I've ever had in my fingers and my toes. So now I'm like, I really got to start over. So the only thing that I could think of, because movements hurt and I'm atrophied and I know I'm not going to be able to lift really any weight in a dynamic fashion. And then the impact will be taking a chance on injuring myself or tearing a tendon or a ligament. So my first choice was isometrics, which is going to be the basis for every workout, whether you're doing isometrics, whether you're doing, in my opinion, yoga, Pilates, dynamic workouts with dumbbells, resistance bands, barbells. running, whatever it is, you have to engage those muscles and have a mind muscle connection. So that was my first step with that. And I'm just coming out of that phase and working with cables on my all-one trainer, some body weight suspension training, and the next thing will be resistance bands. But isometrics is something that I'll probably have to embrace and use every single day, no matter what modality that I'm training in.
I mean, I got to say it. You should get some sort of one of those sliding benches, even if it's a used one or those ones off Great Flex or a Total Gym.
I think that has a connection that I can.
Yeah, I think you should definitely take advantage. I think you would love it. I mean, they're perfect for you in your situation. I mean, any situation, but yeah. How has your spiritual side kind of grown or changed since this whole process happened? I know we got into it a little bit, but I'll be remiss not to get into this.
It's the most important element in all this stuff, because what I learned too, and this is something like, it might not seem that deep, but I was always a cardio and weights guy. And I'm kind of falling back into the habit of, I enjoy cardio and weights. And from my era, it's always been the way you paired it up. But I really do have to engage with a lot more modalities like yoga, some active rest days, like even if I want to go out to the pool with the water weights and do things, and other types of workouts, because I feel like I can get really lazy, go through the motions. Even with isometrics, I can go through the motions. But I was always, and that's a very outward, superficial type of way to look at things. Whereas if you take the other modalities and you think about the way it can put your mind at ease, and then can almost put you in a meditative state away. And I honestly, like, I don't like to use words meditate and meditative. For me, if I go into certain things, I can open up the Hallow app and listen to the rosary as I'm doing it, because I'm not going to listen to heavy metal music as I'm trying to stretch and relax and do these things. So there's an opportunity to join even more physical health, wellness, and fitness with my spiritual and my faith-based health, wellness, and fitness. And the whole illness, and that out loud, literally crying out to God in bed, to please don't put this on anybody else. And if this is my cross to bear, then compared to Jesus, it's absolutely nothing. So it's deepened it, it's centered it. Even something as small as waking up in the morning and not looking at my affiliate sales first, but looking at the devotion for the day. Before we go to bed, my mother-in-law got my wife and myself a great marriage devotional book that has our names, kind of on a plate on the front. We read that every night. We watch The Chosen, which people can think one way or the other about it, but what it does is it opens up your heart. It's so immensely powerful. And once again, I get emotional just thinking about some of the scenes that are just crazy. And it's also, like I said before, and you have the same thing. And that's why I think we connected too. What is the purpose now? What is my motivation? How can I serve others? Is it reaching out and using maybe the Stevie Richards name, where some people recognize that name and give it a chance, even as a novelty? And then when they hear my story and my message and what my hope, my purpose, this point forward is, maybe it'll be inspired, and think, oh, it's not so bad, or I don't have to feel so stupid about talking about my faith or talking about how I fall short in I'm not at a point of faith, and the world's starting to pull me back into all the BS that means absolutely nothing, less than nothing. And and my wife and I have talked. She does voiceover stuff and voice acting and other things. We're reaching out to faith-based places, faith-based production companies. We're talking to faith-based radio stations, or talking about any way that we can honor God and Jesus for giving us the gift of our lives back. Because that's really what happened. People can say, you read the comments of the people that be like, it wasn't God. God gave you the infection. If you got to say that, God gave you the infection. Well, you know what? That might be true, but I mean, he gave Job a lot more than he gave me. So
yeah, I always say, if you get, people think if you get something that's bad, that's necessarily that is a bad thing. I mean, some of the best changes, the best things in my life have come from immense suffering or immense just bad stuff that happens. I think causes there for a reason, for regrowth.
It's just like working out. I mean,
Right.
it's not so much, the no pain, no gain thing, but you're going to feel discomfort and you're going to be outside your comfort zone. You're going to go beyond the 8 to 12 reps sometimes. And you're going to push yourself and you're going to try things. You might get hurt, but you're going to learn a lesson and train differently and train smarter. If people want to use a fitness analogy, that's the one you use. Just like now, it took something like that to say, and you can sit there and like I was that way, blaming everybody else for my problems and saying it's this person's fault. In wrestling, it's really easy because it's depending on what someone in creative and someone in the office, your career, your matches, your wins, your losses, your money, everything else is always determined by somebody else to a major degree. So it makes it really easy to foster. I wouldn't use foster, infect. Let's use the side of infection. It infects you because it's so much easier to blame everybody else because you can just blame that person because you're not where you want to be. And then you just walk away and say, it's not my fault. And you feel like you let it all go. It's so much harder to take it on and say, man, I've been a sinner. I've fallen so short. I haven't been thinking about my fitness brand the right way. I haven't been caring about my audience enough. I care about them, but what about the people that are more limited? What about the people that are in wheelchairs or walkers or canes? I left those people out. What?
Yeah. Well, I know that's what even I was thinking about doing the same thing recently because I made a few videos just for like on seniors and I think I said plus size individuals and a lot of people very close to me are in that demographic in both those categories. And it's for us, it's like, well, you want to get attention, you want to get people to watch a video, and sometimes that's not the most attractive topic, but honestly, sometimes those videos are the ones that get people saying, thank you for making this. No one talks about this or etc. So I feel like, I always have that same kind of idea. But on the question side, kind of related to this was, and I'm just talking honestly, and I'm sure you might have had these kind of similar thoughts, especially when you're making like YouTube content where you're kind of getting fed your self-worth on analytics and green or red signs, that like you said, you're trying to find what your vocation or your purpose, even if it's like in your business stuff, your side gigs, your hobbies or whatever, or your vocation as a husband or vocation as a father, whatever, that sometimes we think if we don't reach all these people, we're not doing a good job. Or if I don't hit this particular thing, when really it's 9 times out of 10. And I think this, it's the very simple things. Odds are you're doing what you're supposed to do, whether your brand becomes a mega thing, or it's just something very simple. It's serving its purpose no matter what. I think that's something that's kind of balancing our headspace around.
Yeah, there's a thing to be said about quality over quantity when it comes to an audience too. If you have 500 to 1,000 people that are a loyal audience, people and like consuming your content, interact, and they believe in you and they follow you, that's more than anybody can ever hope. And actually, a lot of people, in the podcasting realm, make money off their 500 to 1,000 people, and they don't do it in a dishonest, unethical way. They just have people that are very, very devout people that follow them, and that to me is what I always try to say. And I think this kind of content too is when one person asks the question, even if I'm answering that question for one person, there's almost a guarantee there's at least a lot of other people that have it. But even if I answer the question for that one person, I'm serving the person that we talk about that we usually ignore because we go into show off mode and look at my gym and look at how cool it is. And I got this cool new product, and I'm going the other way, Mike. I'm glad, I expanded the funny part is God teaches lessons too. I expanded my business to a second garage because it's very affordable, $125 a month, better than renting out a building, paying electricity, overhead, liability. I was able to put cardio and the sauna in a second garage. I said, this is going to be great. I'm going to double my money. You have all these pie in the sky theories of how it's going to go. I got sick immediately after that. So now I'm laying there in bed going, okay, every time I go in there, all I see, no matter even if it's brands I love and all this stuff, it just looks like clutter, and it starts cluttering up and I start getting kind of paralysis by analysis and trying to do whatever. And the best part about this whole thing, when I have revolving door of product, which I'm very fortunate to have, I'm able to pass those blessings along and donate them to certain people. I know a guy in the area that runs a gym for youths, little thing out of his garage that he doesn't charge kids in his neighborhood. So last run of trying to kind of like get new product in, he got all the old product, and it wasn't old, but it was, already used it up for 4 or 5 videos. So he was happy to have it. So that's part of the whole thing about there's lots of people that hoard it in our content creator space. Like, I got 15 all-in-one trainers here and I got this and that, and cool. Nobody cares. Yeah. I'm researching, like I think I said it in the first part of our discussion, that our home gym's dead in 2023. That's literally going to be the title of my video when I do it. So it's going to be a presentation style, PowerPoint style, or my keynote. I'm a Mac guy, but I'm going to go there and go to slides back and forth and talk about this. And I feel like I tend to prey on this stuff. I'm like, is this something I think is cool, or is this something that I think the audience will say, wow, that was really informative and that was cool, and the home gym space still is pretty strong. Okay, I got it. Or maybe it's starting to decline a little bit. Because I'll tell the truth right off the bat. I'll say, hey, I wanted to do this video, give you information if you're considering a home garage gym or even joining a gym membership at Planet Fitness. I'm going to give you all the cost and all the stuff and the stats. But from a business standpoint of me, I have to look at the market once in a while and say, has this jumped the shark and do I need to pivot? Yeah. So I'm going to learn at the end of this video, just like you, if the home garage gym market is still strong enough for me to still bring the content to everybody.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting. I definitely am excited to hear that. That'd be awesome. I mean, I know we touched on that a little bit earlier, that I still see the home gym. I think you're right onto something. I think the home gym area, like the band, bands were blowing up, and I'm sure Total Gym made a lot of money from stuff. Which I'm not endorsed or affiliated with the Total Gym. Yeah, that'd be
you, man.
Yeah, that'd be great if I got a paycheck. I'm sure they did awesome. But then I think about like that the garage. When I think of garage home fitness gym, like the barbells and the dumbbells, the guy who does the garage fitness reviews, I forget his name. I think it's called Garage Gym Reviews. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that guy gets all that stuff, but I think that whole market's not going anywhere. The young people, or I don't know, people that are into like more powerlifting and stuff, I think that's going strong. But I think the idea of like the average Joe and, just, I don't know. Yeah, I can see that changing. Although it's interesting. I don't know if you got into that at all. Your thoughts on just the whole smart gym technology. A lot of people are asking me about the Vivian. I don't know how it is.
Virtue Vian or something. I've checked the platform training on
that. Was cool. And I reviewed one of those little pump machines. That's the first experience I had on something that had like a motor that was a portable thing. And I was amazed that like this is if this technology gets built, just improved upon the charges and stuff. I'm like, this for sure is awesome. I could do all sorts of settings, negatives, positive, adjust attention.
Like a handy gym type thing.
It's called Pump is what it's called.
I've heard of it. I've seen it. It comes.
It's awesome. I mean, I was shocked at how much resistance came in that thing. So I could see that for sure being the future once that technology gets cheaper and more reliable too. But. Yeah,
I am. Well, I did I do a smart gym versus old school? If not, I plan on doing that. We have a Tempo studio in here in the living room, and I like the Tempo studio for a lot of reasons, but then there's reasons why it might not be for people.
What is that?
It's like the Tempo studio's got the big 42-inch portrait screen, and you use the different colored plates to register. It's got a 3D camera that corrects your form.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's a freeway. It looks like a big easel. It's called a Tempo studio.
Kind of like a tonal. Does it have like arms and stuff?
No, it doesn't. It's not a cable-based machine. It's all free weights. It comes with a barbell and 2 dumbbells that you load the plates.
Oh, okay.
It's excellent. And the reason why I like it is because I'm in an apartment. You don't have to bolt anything into the wall. And the tonal, I did 2 or 3 videos on the tonal where I talked about how it's not worth it or how they nickel and dime you on hidden fees and things that make it really work to the fullest extent. I'm not their favorite person, but that's okay. But my thing was going through the video finding it as if you were to buy it. Oh, I discovered I need the smart handles and this and that in order to make it work. It does. I mean, think about tonal. You got to use the cable for the smart technology for the whatever the kind of weightlifting you're going to do, but they don't include the handles that you need in order to use the tonal. You got to pay $495 on top of that. I think that's the sign. The Tempo Studio, it's smart fitness, it's a subscription, there's a cost involved, but I find it to be better for just all around use and all that stuff. Now, if I had a choice, I wouldn't go with a smart fitness setup. Now, if you're in a condo, you're in a high rise, the tonal's great, the Tempo Studio's great. I wouldn't go with a NordTrack Vault because the software just kind of stinks. But that's what most of these are dependent on, software too. You got to subscribe, you got to follow the workouts. I would definitely invest more, not because I'm on the show with you. I would invest, if you want a minimalistic setup, I would invest in one of the Total gyms because you can put it right under your bed. You can fold it up. You can keep it set up all the time. It's not going to take up space and it's safe. And it gives you that cable free weight kind of hybrid workout, at least from what I've seen. I would even go as far as if you were going to use the Total Gym, I would invest in one of the isometric ones, like a Bulwark or Bow Classic or the ISO chain.
I do want to hear your thoughts on that. I get people all the time asking me, like, you try the Bulwark or try this thing. I've of course heard of it for years, but I'm watching it, I'm like, I don't know if I'm just thinking, okay, you just do this. I've seen a couple of things, but I saw your video just now, the new one. I got to watch it, but I saw you did the isometrics, that plate, and I saw some other dude, a random video that popped up, and he was swearing by how he just does isometrics and that plate you have. So what do you like about those things, and just what do you think the overall benefits?
Well, the Bulwark has been around forever. The ISO chain's also been around for a very long time. And isometrics, bar and chain isometrics, that's what Bruce Lee used to use.
Yeah.
So isometrics are really, really important because think about when most people train just dynamically, say you have 12 reps, your first 8 to 9 reps are going to be crap. The only time you're going to slow down and do a 2 up, 2 down, or a 3 up, 3 down, or squeeze your muscles to try to get the rep is when you're tired. But with isometric devices, you get nothing out of it unless you're literally flexing your muscles to make it work. And with the Bulwarker, I think it's Bulwarker, Bow Classic. They have a steel bow, and then they have an IsoFlow, which is suspension training. But also, when you connect it to the Bulwarker, you can do isometric shoulder presses, delt raises, all sorts of stuff, deadlifts. The Bulwarker is great because it's portable. It's not very expensive. It's been around for, 50 years, maybe 60. And you can do isometrics and dynamic reps. So you can hold it for a 6 and then pump out 12 if you want. So it looks limiting,
right?
But it's not once you get the ergonomics of what you can do with it down.
I probably should watch one of their videos, but in the initial design, is it just this motion? So I'm guessing what other muscles and stuff can you really do? You know what I mean? I guess.
No, these are the handles that have the finger marks where you do the pushes and stuff like that. Then it's got handles on the actual, it's almost like a bike lock type of kryptonite type of material.
Yeah.
You do pulls.
Okay.
And if you do I had a Bulwarker Bow Classic review that I did on the beach, and like I said, technical difficulties. It turned out bad, and the white balance went all over the place. I looked like I was either on the surface of the moon or the surface of the sun. So, but essentially, the best part about I got a little one called an Isokinator, which is a crazy German one with a 25-year guarantee or warranty on it. It's nuts. But I have to do a review on that. But you also get, I don't know if it's a technical term, I'll just make it up, cross isometrics. So when you grab the Bulwarker, say you grab it, I'll go back here. Say you grab the bottom part, like here, top part up here, and then the middle bar spring thing is here. I can do an isometric curl and isometric triceps at the same time. And as I'm holding this, I can do dynamic tricep pushdowns, hold that, do dynamic bicep curls. So you can essentially get 2 exercises done at the same time.
Well, the other thing when I watch, I'm a big feeling guy. Like I love stuff that I can, really feel that tension building up. So my thing also, aside from that, is like, would I be really feeling that tension I get? And also the other big thing to me is like, well, can it build muscle? I could see it being maybe some strength and you get some functional strength out of there, but could you build muscle hypertrophy through that type of stuff?
Well, you were talking about how good I looked.
Well, yeah,
That
yeah.
was,
Well, you just started moving your arms around. I was like, he still got guns for some be out of commission for
I
4
don't do
months.
this too often, but
There you go. Look at
the
that.
pick line right there.
You gave me a lot of hope because I tell you, I was depressed when you got it, but now I'm like, if something happens to me, at least there's hope because you look exactly the
I
same.
want to lose weight, get spinal infection. That's my recommendation. But dude, 30 days of nothing but isometrics, and I didn't use the iso.
Wow.
I didn't use the iso chain or the isomax because I had no back mobility and it hurt to do deadlifts and squats. So all my lower body was literally, when I first started doing, was suspension training squats, T-Rex squats, and wall squats. But everything for every other part of my body, including abs or core, because I can only do planks. I couldn't do like leg raises because of my back. It was 30 to 35 days of nothing but isometrics.
That alone, you're piquing my interest of wanting to try it. And just hearing what you just said, the testimony right there, that's pretty cool.
Well, you think about it, go to any bulwarker review, or when they have their channel, you're going to see a lot of 50, 60, 70-year-old guys, maybe even older, saying, I still have my bulwarker from like 1975.
Out of curiosity, yeah, the isometric stuff, I'm like intrigued in two different directions. One, the isometric stuff is really intriguing. Did you do a lot of work with isometrics? I didn't Google search. I got to look more in the channel to look at the total content, but do you got a lot of isometric videos?
The bulwarker got 1 or 2 up. The iso chain, I have 3. Because I do updated reviews. I think I have something up to a year. And then the iso max versus the iso chain, I literally compare both of them. And my use I talk about my use of the iso chain for like a year and a half or so, or maybe more than that. But the bulwarker, I did a boat classic video on the beach, and I think I did one before that. I have the steel bow. Basically, the boat classic is the barbell version.
Yeah,
that's the one I would use because there's more range of motion. The steel bow is shorter, like a dumbbell, but it's harder to get for taller people to get a range of motion sometimes on that.
Okay. Yeah, that looks awesome. I feel like this, because I get some people asking about it, and I don't know if it's just they tend to be people, they're older guys that you grew up with it or kind of seeing it, and I'm like, I don't know, I've never heard. I shouldn't say. There's all sorts of ages.
The kicking sand on the beach, the bully kicking on the beach, and the guy
right, yeah, the old dad,
knocks him out. I think everything helps. I think no matter what you do, it's just my situation was pretty unique where I had no room to like jump back into it.
Yeah.
And people think I jumped back into it, but I didn't, man. It was using isometrics. Of course, I was doing cardio too, which I need to cut back on that. I overtrain cardio all the time, but I was doing cardio. I was getting back to doing my sauna stuff when I got the pick line out. And of course, doing isometrics, I didn't have a choice. That's all there could be. So people who have a choice may not, like you're intrigued, but you have a little bit like, it doesn't feel the same as when I'm doing cables or total gym or body weight stuff. There's different barriers you create. I didn't have the luxury of creating any obstacles. I just, I'll take it because it's all I can do.
Well, I think more and more people, and I think from the COVID stuff, that's still kind of a practical thing, is that people want something that's just simplistic. Like my brain is more and more going that way, that if there's just like, go back to Bruce Lee. If I can subtract stuff and get kind of the same, if not similar results, and make my life simpler with less equipment, less programming, whatever, and I'm enjoying it, why not do those things? So if there was some, let's say if the bulwarker did all these things and I can work out for whatever, 20, 30 minutes, even if it is longer than that, but it's one thing. That's why the total gym, from a lot of times, I can just have one thing and I have a good time with it and it gives me results. Why not just stick with that one thing? But
my advice to you would be to use the isometrics either with one set hold of 6 or whatever. They have one set hold of 6, one set hold of 12. 6 times 6 is usually like the golden, when you're doing a full body workout, the old school guys did the 6x6 or 8x8. But I would use it as a primer before you get on the total gym. You'll probably get even more of a pump off of that.
Really? Yeah, I'll
And then
definitely
if you
check
get
it
a
out.
little tired, maybe go and do a burnout set of dynamics on the bull worker.
Yeah. Although the only fear I have, I know, as soon as a bull worker is being seen, I already get crap all day from people with that for just using the total gym. Then they would just be like, "Oh, you're just now it's another gimmick product you're using." Blah blah. That's the crap I would. I know I'd get. That's just me talking. But
Well, have you gotten people that have emailed you hoping that I die a slow death from the back infection?
oh my gosh, you
Oh,
get so
there.
you get you so you get a lot of hate mail from people like that.
Some here and there. It's fine. You're never going to please everybody, and that's what I was going to say to you. On any level, you're never going to.
But
You're
what can it be beef with you though? I don't understand. What would someone be possibly upset with you about? I mean, what do you get people like that?
breathing. I mean,
Really?
yeah. There's some people. There's
Because of
one
wrestling,
guy,
you
one
think?
guy reached out to me and he was like, I'm so happy to see you suffering, and I hope you die a slow, painful death, because over 20 years ago, I was sitting in the crowd at a
Oh
show.
my gosh.
You told me to shut up and told my kid I was a bad father. And I was like, dude, you are scary, because if you you need God in your life, because if you're holding on that after 23 years,
Holy cow.
yeah.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
Florida's a constitutional carry state now, so I'll be okay.
Jeez, that's insane. That's well, I forget the wrestling part. People can take that a little too seriously.
Listen, I did my job. I
Yeah.
did my job very well, and people hated me. I don't think there's many people out there, and there might be people that just don't like the way I look. There's people that write 4-paragraph comments about my stupid ponytail, and I'm like, man, if you got
Jeez.
that much energy, I got to take a nap, man, because I'm tired. If you got that much energy, God bless you.
Yeah.
Comment staying up.
Oh man. What would be just some practical tips what's the main tips you kind of give people who they can be at home fitness, but you can kind of talk about the pros and cons of at home fitness. I don't even know how you feel, but even personally going to the gym, do you go to the gym? And just what are some things you kind of recommend to people who are just saying, basic questions. I want to get in shape. I want to define my body, the typical goals. Should I go to the gym? Should I stay home? If I stay home, what are some things you would recommend initially?
We do have an apartment gym, complex gym, and it's always good to mix it up and go to different gyms. I tell everybody that. Never get too comfortable in a gym where it's just like, which is a muscle memory where you don't have to think about what you're doing. Mind muscle connection, super important. Also, there's something exciting about going to a new gym and trying different stuff out. But we're both home and garage gym guys, but people will be shocked. I just brought this up on the episode 11 of the Big Fitness Show, myself and Big Mike Burns, that will come out this Wednesday. So whatever it'll be episode 11 about healthy basics. And I had said to Mike, because we're always espousing home garage gyms because it's what we know. But he had asked that question, like, what would you do with somebody that was new? I was like, believe it or not, I would tell people maybe to go to Planet Fitness, because Planet Fitness, for free, as part of your membership, has personal trainers that will help you, that will show you the machines, show you how to take you through the full body express workout. And then if you feel really confident, they have those classes with the CrossFit area, the PF 360, where they monitor you with the exercises, they coach you. So basically for 20, 30, maybe $10 a month, if you're not going to have the massage, I recommend the massage chairs and the tanning. So if you're not going to go 20, 30, if you're going to pay the 10 for your one gym, go to Planet Fitness and get a personal trainer to take you through some stuff, and then take some classes, get that motivation from a group if that's what you're there for, and then feel it out, see where you're at. And then if you want a home or garage gym, you're going to stick with it. I would never tell people to right away, and if they've never worked out, to buy a home gym or buy an all-one trainer, either a total gym or a bull worker. Go to a gym, give yourself not even a month, give yourself 3 months, because 90 days, you're going to make a lot of progress, and you're going to know if it's and if you can drive back and forth to the gym at whatever time, and if it's 4 or 5 a.m., that's even better. If you're going to be able to stick with it for 90 days, get the results, and be into it and say, my God, I found this is my lifestyle. Now you're ready to invest, but not a moment before that.
That's a golden. Yeah, that whole thing was golden right there. That was excellent. Yeah, exactly. 100%. I mean, you nailed it in so many different levels too, because yeah, you're right. I never said this on my channel either at all. I mean, obviously Planet Fitness told you is always in my head. Planet Fitness always gets its fair share of like, hate on it. But I mean, for $15 or $10, like you said, just even kind of try it out. Or even if you do have a at-home gym, like I never ever thought of that, just even saying that suggestion, that it's hard to say if there's a gym by you, it's $10, $19, whatever it is, and you want to have it just for the sake of like once a month or once whatever, I can just go supplement, get some kicks in, go into the gym, play with that equipment. That's awesome. And like you said, the biggest thing is the consistency. I always tell people, if you can go to the gym just sitting or a recumbent bike and just watch TV, you've already made half the battle, because odds are you'll do some other stuff. But like you said, if you're making the commitment and actually driving and doing that, home fitness, I think would be a lot easier.
Yeah, think about you can appreciate the convenience of just walking into your spare bedroom, or we have a detached garage. We walk a little bit, but not far at all.
Yeah.
If you have time to drive back and forth, you're going to have time to get up in the morning and go 100 feet to where your gym is. And I even thought about, we have one here. I've always been curious to try it out. Thought about filming for my YouTube channel. Like I tried Planet Fitness out.
Yeah.
After having a home garage gym for years, I'm gonna try Planet Fitness out, see what it's like.
Well, I could talk to you forever. I know right now it's gotta be dinner time by you guys, so I don't want to keep you too long. Any kind of last minute, just parting words, or where people find you, and what some things to kind of look for you in the horizon?
Well, I would give the advice I would give anybody is to start doing something today, whatever it is. There's plenty of free content on YouTube, free workouts. It might not give you the total guide that you need day to day, but if you just want to get up, do like a yoga with Adrian has 30 days of yoga. If you want to start with that and have a plan, if you want to do 30 days of isometrics, if you want to do 30 days to do 5 push-ups, 5 sit-ups, 5 wall squats, whatever, do something, and don't wait for the classic Monday morning. Today's Monday, so you can do Monday night. But don't wait for that. Start your fitness journey, your health, wellness, nutrition journey today. Don't wait. And more than anything, just have fun with it. Don't torture yourself. I'm in the Rocky training montage mindset, and it can get real old real quick. Have fun, enjoy it, treat it like you're playing. Like, definitely don't be sloppy, be safe, be mindful, because the equipment can be dangerous, but have fun with it. It's not supposed to be torture. It's not supposed to be a chore or a job or anything that you have to do. Now, if in your mind you say, I have to work out every day, that's perfect. But it needs to be a lifestyle choice that you embrace and enjoy, or else you're not going to stick with it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Stevie. And I'll link all your YouTube channels. I know you got a podcast too. What's in the podcast can be found, I'm sure, in all different places to find podcasts. But what's the name of the podcast again?
Same place we're going to find your podcast when we get you all set up.
Yeah, right.
Then go to StevieRichardsFitness.com. The Big Fitness Show has a media player there. And also you can click on that and then see everywhere it's available. The YouTube channel, thank you to everybody who subscribed. I'm so grateful. We're up to something like 83,000 subscribers right now, and I'm very grateful for each and every one. Right now, though, I let everybody know, too, for everybody that thinks, well, you guys got it figured out and you know what you're doing and you're at this place and you have 80-some thousand subscribers. I'm looking right now and going, okay, what do I try? What do I wake up in the morning still like, okay, God, what do you want me to do today? What do I got? I'm trying to get organized that way, but it's so tough. And every content creator, and I know you're the same way, you got to push through it. You're going to have 50,000 instances of uncertainty, lack of direction, not sure you're doing the right thing, not making money, not getting views, not getting some. You just got to keep going. You got to enjoy doing it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Stevie. Hopefully we'll talk again soon, though.
Definitely. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate the time.
Thanks again.